Hello, all of you risk takers and truth seekers, and welcome to podcast Life the Battlefield. Today, I have amazing guests in my studio, and as you know, the Life the Battlefield, it's all about empowering and arming you and equip you with the knowledge and experiences to tackle life battles, so you can win not just the battles but the war. And today, I have a true champion and a hero in my studio. Her name is Nimarta. Somebody who I know for many years, and she was my guest at the beginning of my career on radio. And I just want to welcome Nimarta, but the reason why Nimarta today, it is because you, all of you risk takers and truth seekers, you will learn today that all that fluff, that all that seeing the fame and the glory on the internet and influencers portraying to you, it's not true. To be successful and be happy in business and life takes a lot of pain, tackling a lot of obstacles, and being persistent and consistent. And who better to talk about this than my guest, Nimarta. Nimarta, welcome to the podcast Life the Battlefield.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful, so glad to be here, Mario.
And look, I can't recall when was the last time we saw each other on radio, but I'm grateful that you drove from Central Coast, to be here today with me in studio. And I want your story today. Because this podcast, it is about arming, equipping, and sharing the knowledge and life experiences to everybody who is interested to win life battles. So, Nimarta, I want to introduce yourself to audience. Who is Nimarta, and why Disruptor Brand?
Yeah, so my name is Nimarta. Some people call me Nimi for short. If you talk about who I am, talking about, first of all, where I'm from Thailand. I'm from Bangkok, actually. But my background's Indian. So I've got those two cultures within me. And I've been here in Australia now for over 10 years. Happily married. I've got a daughter, 2.5-year-old. And as you say, I live in the Central Coast.
So, Nimarta, first of all, thank you for showing the Courage Initiative. You see, that's something what I learned in the army. When I was trained, they always told us, take an initiative. Now when you're equipped and trained, we're in a battle, you need to take initiatives. And when I was in the war, I need to take initiatives, but I was most of the time afraid before I learned how to not to be afraid. And I was afraid in the war. But you display the courage. You display the more courage than the most men I know. You pick up the phone and say, hey, Mario, I want to come in the studio. I'm very grateful that you choose this podcast to share your knowledge. For that one, I commend you because you show courage and initiative.
Thank
you. Nimarta, we spoke before this interview about topics, and let's go start with influencers, right? We are surrounded with so many gurus, so many influencers, so many coaches, and, just to name the few. And everybody talks how easy it is to become rich, successful, how to become the famous. What is your take on that, Nimarta?
I just really resent how much only the glamour of it is shown. When you look at Instagram influencers, it's like all polished and perfect, and they're working on their laptop from the beach with their perfect bodies, and somehow their kids manage to raise themselves, and somehow they have food on the table. Everything looks polished and glam and great, and they lure you into this thing called, becoming a business owner, working for yourself. Look at this glamorous life. And I just call bullshit on it, Mario. I hope I can say that word.
This is the second time.
I hope I can say that.
No, yes, you can, of course. The video is not monetized, and this podcast is sponsored by myself. And I'll never start this podcast in for the reason of just to make the money. So, if you say some words, YouTube doesn't like it. But they like it if you don't ask for money from them. So it's okay.
Sure, thanks.
So you can say, we are witnessing on a daily basis, and that influencers, so-called influencers, people, which I was questioning what's the credibility, authority to share their knowledge and, experience, which they're mostly not supported with nothing than just blast. telling other ones you can sit in a pool and make millions. Now, Nimarta, I want to ask you a question. How did you start your business, and what was your obstacles, hopes, dreams, and what was the battles you faced when you started your business?
So I remember, can I go back and tell you the moment
You
that I
can tell what I
decided?
want.
Yeah. So I was in a corporate job, in a well-paid, stable corporate job, but day by day it was sucking my soul. And December 2019, I remember I received a phone call from my sister in Bangkok. And she says to me, our cousin, at the time he was 36 years old, he died unexpectedly. And so I took a flight right away next day back to Bangkok. We're at post his cremation. There's a crematorium, and then they have like a shovel, and they're collecting his ashes. So I'm standing there. I don't know what to expect. And they collect the ashes. They lay it out on this marble table in front of us. So I'm standing there looking at these ashes. And nobody tells you, I never knew this, but when they say ashes, it's not just ashes. There's pieces of bones in there that didn't get burned. So I'm standing there looking at these gray ashes and pieces of bone. I'm bawling my eyes out because that's my cousin. And I just have this feeling of like, is this all there is to life? Like, this is how we're going to end. And they scoop him up and put him up in a plastic bag. Like, that's someone's life. We can fit in that plastic bag.
You know, I have the goosebumps, and I never saw a person be cremated, never in my life.
Yeah,
you know, so.
neither. That was my first. And so that was December 2019.
Yeah.
I flew back to Australia, back to my work. And the first day back, that was when I told my boss, I need to quit. Because I realized if I'm going to die and I'm going to be put in a plastic bag, I want to do something more with my life. I don't want to be this scared corporate ladder person. So I quit my job, and that was January 2020. By the time my notice period was up and I was stepping out into the business world, Mario, it was COVID. March 2020 was when I started. The worst possible
time you can have. Oh my God.
Everyone was
calling me. I knew you had the more balls than everybody else. Okay, it's a reason why. Okay, please, I'm sorry.
No, that's... Everyone was calling me like, are you crazy? What are you doing? This is unpredictable. This is COVID. I'm really lucky to have a supportive husband. He said to me, he goes, you know, it's like playing a video game. You're just starting you're starting at the most difficult level.
Yeah.
It could only go up from here.
Yeah.
And I really took that. I really took his word, and I went, yep, I'm just going to start. So it was a struggle, Mario. It wasn't like...
Can you share with us what was the struggle? What, you know, like what is some lesson you learned from that moment, which you can translate into the environment people can face when they start business? And your husband was right. You started hitting on level number 5. You know what I mean? You didn't even know how to choose the weapons.
Yeah. So I think, you know, I was in corporate my whole life, and there's a sense of ego, Mario, when you're in corporate and you think you're some hot shot. You know, I worked at Woolies. I'm a important person, important corporate woman. But when you step out in the business world, it's just you now. Nobody gives a shit that you've come from corporate. Like, what are you going to do now? Especially if you're talking to small businesses as your target audience. They don't care that you've come from corporate. So I was a nobody again. And I was pretty much taking any job, Mario. I was doing someone's whole website for $300. I was like, yep, whatever you've got, I'm saying yes to it. It was such a lesson in humility. Right? Because I couldn't afford to be picky at that time. Anything that came my way, I was saying yes to. Anything I didn't know the answer to, I didn't have a boss or a manager to help me work it through. I had to find a way to deliver to the client. So I was finding out answers for myself. I was talking to anybody who wanted to meet me. I didn't even know who they were. I said, yep, I'll meet you. Yep, I'll meet you. Yes, I'll help you. Yes, I'll do free work. Yes, I'll do it for $200. Like, it was just a big lesson in humility.
I can't emphasize enough that most of pivotal moments in our life coming unexpected. Most of people are unprepared for this. And I remember something I want to share with you. My father always told me, just finish at school and get a job. And, you know, for my father was like, just finish at school and go work in factory and die. And I do remember the moment before my father passed away in 96 in January. Day before he passed away, I was going for surgery, need reconstruction of my jaw. And I got to see him, and he was fully alert. And he says to me, I wish I'd done this, and this, and this. And I said to him, it's a little bit too late. He says, but it's not late for you. And I said, what makes you to change your mind? He says, because I was afraid all my life. You're going to teach a lot of people humility. That's a very powerful lesson, humility. Have you been, flip side of a coin of humility, have you been humiliated in that process from people telling you you shouldn't get a job, $200, you worth more, and then humiliated you on that way? Does anybody be there who's making fun of you or doubted you, betrayed you?
I think it was more that they were like, you should probably get a job. You know, that was the resounding.
Who's they?
Family, yes. Ex-colleagues were, they would say things like, "Oh, you're really brave, but I don't know if I would do that if I was you." Right? I don't know if I could do that, but not in a admiring way, but more like it kind of sounds like you're being stupid, you know.
They try to put you down.
Yeah.
Would you agree with me if I say to you, I learned this, I heard, I can't recall exactly who said that and when, but I heard this and I learned from that person that the first who's going to bring you down, it's a family and friends. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I experienced that quite a bit, like starting my journey. I eventually I understood that it was out of their fear, like what your dad was experiencing fear, right? They were projecting their fear upon me, right? Yes. And I eventually had to say to them, look, I understand your fear and I need to do this and nothing bad's going to happen. The job, corporate world will always be there. If I fail, I will, tail between my legs, go back and I will find a way. But I need to do this and I need you to just stop filling me with doubt. So I had to set some boundaries and say, stop having this conversation with me. It's hard enough to be a woman stepping out on my own. In my family, I don't have an example to look at another woman who's done it in my family. I'm the first person who's stepping out, starting my own business. It's hard enough to do it in that way. Stop filling me with doubt. Like, go away.
I need to ask you something as a woman, right? Not as a somebody who I know, and somebody who is a business savvy. Men to women. There's a plenty of women there in social media claiming how they have the magic wand and solution for women to be successful. Do you believe in that?
Look, I wish there was.
I'm asking you because you're going through thick and thin. You're the mother who lost a job just before the COVID, and the COVID wasn't a pleasant time. It was the worst possible time ever for everybody and anybody, except politicians and the sports people. But in Australia, would you agree that there's a plenty of women who say on social media that it's easy to become successful?
Yeah, they do say that.
What do you think about that?
Look, I think they're saying that because they want to sell a course or sell a program. Come join my program so you can do it without. It's like, Mario, if I tell you, hey, you can lose weight without dieting. You can lose weight without exercise. You can lose weight.
You can't.
It's not possible. You have to put in the work.
Yes.
Right? So everyone wants to take a magic pill. But there is a magic pill, there's a cost. There's always a cost.
What would the cost be? Would you, from my perspective, I'm challenging, and part of my podcast it is exposing false gurus, and I truly believe that social media is oversaturated with coaches, gurus, life coaches, business coaches, and every single time I say how do you know that this works? That's like, what do you mean? It's like, but it's your opinion. You see, if I say to you, Nimarta, how would you build a website? You're going to say, I need to do this, I need to do this. You know how. Why the people are falling for those false gurus who just selling dream?
Yeah, I think that's the key word you said.
I want it from you, Nimarta.
I think it's that word, the dream. Everybody wants to have that dream. Everybody wants to get the result without putting in the hard work. So if they're already leaning towards that and there's a little, someone keeps saying, oh, you can, our biases is going to lead us to believe and think, oh yeah, that person said we could do it in a simple way. Let's do it. You know, even people who are making money off YouTube or off Instagram as influencers, they are working. Their life is work. They can't just sit and have a relaxed dinner. They have to think about, I have to film this content, their mental load, right? So it's all work. You have to choose what's the shit you're going to take. There's no escaping the grind, but which level of grind is acceptable for you? That's a personal choice.
I just like what you say. It's a personal level. Sorry, the choice of personal level of grind you are accepting. I think that most of people actually want to be somebody else. Why we are lacking in today's society? We're going to talk about your business, and you see a lot. But I have a feeling that everybody copies everybody, try to become somebody. Even when I started podcast, I say, I want to be like a Joe Rogan. And, there's a few people told me, like, first, don't even dream about. There's a lot of people say to me, no, you cannot be. I say, but yes, I can, even with my broken English. But the thing is, I said to myself, why want to be Joe Rogan? I can learn a lot from his, presentation skills and how he talks, interviewing. But I'm the Mario Bekes. You know what I mean? Why we love to copy somebody else's success?
Yeah, it's a really great point.
Because you're doing the website, you're doing the brains. I want your opinion.
Sure. So I think us as human beings, we have a tribe mentality, right? We want to belong. And so we're looking up to people and we're going, oh, how can I belong? How can I be like them? There's an example that we can follow. If you have to be the one to stick your neck out and be the first one to do something, that is a huge risk. Our body, our fear is telling us, don't do it, you're going to die. Don't do it, you're going to die. Because back in, evolutionary times, if you're in a tribe and you try to leave your tribe, you're going to die. You probably will die. You probably will get hunted or eaten. That fear is biological. It's embedded within us. So I think that's why it's so hard to be your own person. I'm exploring different avenues with my business. And what I hear from my coach is, just look up to who's doing well and copy them. Okay. I cringe at that word. I'm like, copy? Like, do you know me? I don't want to copy. I want to create my path. Like, why should I copy someone?
That's very true. Like, I think that, and I'll be honest with you, like now with my audience, I say, like, I remember when I started my Inside Intelligence group and, was it 2009 when the GFC hit? And I remember, my family now, we're falling apart. My son diagnosed with epilepsy. And I remember my friend Anne, she comes to me in aid and she says, what do you want to do? I said, I need to start my business because I was looking for jobs everywhere. Security guard, driver, nobody want to give me nothing. And I don't remember I need a website. And even today, a good friend of mine, Wendy, she stepped in and she says, like, look, we can create a website for you in WordPress. 2 pages going to cost you $600. I say, Wendy, I don't have $600. She says, how much you can afford monthly? I said, like, maybe $20. And I really, even today, it was more $30-$40. I remember I was paying 16 months that website, 2 pages. But I want to have the website like yourself. And I was megalomaniac. My ego was driving me crazy. And then I said to myself, when I sat back, I can't have everything right now. I don't need to be like everybody else. Because I believe that their website is better because they have the better website, they're making more money. I was so wrong. I was almost copying bankrupt company. I think they don't exist anymore today. So like copying somebody else, you're right. It can be a very traumatic experience. You know what I mean? So question, whose success is who's going to have a success first, woman or man?
Oh.
Who has the more chances to be more successful first, woman or man?
Look, I mean, if you talk from statistics and what we hear anecdotally, it's men, right? My theory is that for some reason, women are raised to make ourselves small. Like I always notice it, right? Even how I'm sitting, I'm like, it's like this, how men sit. If I cannot, I can't imagine how men sit in me. I'm feeling self-conscious just doing that. Like So we've been taught to make ourselves small, be accommodating, be like a neatly folded piece of fabric, right? Don't be disruptive. Don't be too loud. Like, I have a daughter. I hear when people say to her things that are old school ways of raising a girl. They're telling her, oh, it's too loud. And I say to them, no, don't tell her it's too loud. Let her shout. I want her to shout.
Yes.
I want her to take up space. Because I was told, do not take up space. Sit and fold yourself and be polite and be accommodating and be pleasing. And you should smile, you know? I don't think that men, and I grew up with a brother, so I could see, he wasn't taught about manners. He wasn't told, sit this way, sit that way. Don't be too loud. Don't be too bold. Don't be too out there. He wasn't taught that way.
Oh, really?
So I think there's like
That's interesting. Yeah.
my theory anyway, but I think there's like an innate confidence that then men have. Good for them.
Good for them, yeah.
Good for them. But I want some of that, you know?
Yeah.
It's so hard to now unlearn
How we can
what I've
learn,
been
how
taught.
somebody can learn confidence, because I truly believe that most of business people, when they start a business, and I can name even today, I know a few people who are sitting on two chairs, you know what I mean? They work in corporate job, but then like at night I'm going to run my business. It doesn't work that way. Now, from this perspective, I can say, thank you, God, for destroying everything. Well, God, whatever, life, you know, gave me the lesson. And I have nowhere to fall except I need to go forward. So, do you think that confidence is a key player why people don't succeed in when they start their own business to fall through?
Yeah, I think that confidence, and I think if you trace it back to the root word of confidence from Latin, it means trust, doesn't it?
Yes, that's great.
And I think it's about trusting yourself. And for me, that was what it took to start my business and continue to have my business, is to trust in myself, even though there's no evidence to look for, right? It's kind of like faith or trust. There's no evidence. You just have to go, I'm going to bank on myself that I can do this.
Yeah.
So I do think confidence in that sense of the word, trusting yourself, that is the ingredient.
That is the ingredient. I want to extend my conversation with the cremation of your cousin. You've been hit several times in a very short period of time. Can you share with us what's happened? Because that was the first death in a line.
Yep.
Happened to you.
Yeah. So, we passed COVID in 2020. I mean, we were in Australia. Our family was most of my family are in Bangkok.
Yeah.
And we, couldn't travel to each other. And we passed that year, just fingers crossed, like hopefully everyone's okay. And it was fine. Everyone was okay. There was some scary situations, but everyone was fine. And then in 2021, it was just 5 deaths in a row.
5?
Yep. Starting from my my grandpa in April. 2 weeks later, another cousin who was again only in his 40s. Then his mom died a couple weeks later. A couple weeks later, her husband died. So within that family, my auntie, my uncle,
You were here in Australia? Or?
I was here in Australia. We couldn't travel.
Yeah.
So my grandpa, my auntie, uncle, cousin, within a few weeks or maximum a month of each other. And then a few months later, my grandmother.
That is waiting for all of us, right? And but it's not easy.
No,
it's not easy.
No, it's the hardest thing.
It's the hardest thing. So I remember my father passed away, then my mom. Even we are not in a good books with each other, still it was
There's grief,
it hits you hard, right? How did you cope with that sadness and that?
Yeah, it was really hard
because the 5 deaths is a lot of deaths.
I remember when I heard about my auntie, and she was the matriarch of the family.
Ah, okay.
You know, when I found out about her, it was through a phone call, of course, phone call. And my other auntie's crying and crying. I can still remember her voice. She's crying, she's screaming. I hang up. And in an hour's time, I had a presentation to present my work to a client.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I just shut it out, finished the presentation. I emailed it to the client. I said to them, I'm sending you the presentation. It's done. I can't talk. I'm too in shock. I can't talk. But I couldn't also just shut myself off from my business. I was still running my business. Like, who else was going to do it? So it was really hard to manage my own self, I remember my nervous system was shot. I went to see a naturopath and she said, you're just running on adrenaline. So a lot of magnesium, a lot of acupuncture, a lot of finding a way to calm my nervous system so that I can still show up and run my business, because there is no other way. What else am I going to do? And at the same time, Mario, not hiding that from any of my clients or colleagues. I was very honest about what I'm going through. You know, normally in Australia, people ask you, hey, how you going? Your automatic response, like, yeah, good, you. Like, it's such an automatic thing.
Yeah,
I made it a conscious effort to say, I'm doing really shit. And they go, why? I go, this is what happened. I said, but I'm here now. I'm talking to you. I may cry, but I'm here. And I just want to be my whole self. So I showed up to my business. In my business, I brought all of it with me. I didn't try to compartmentalize. I brought all my grief with me, and I was as real as I could be. I couldn't
You're the
hide
human
it.
after all.
Yeah.
See, what I like about this interview with you, there's no scripted. There's no agreed questions. Because the only way we can learn is observing somebody and listening at the same time. And I'm observing you. And I'm still standing by my statement that you have more balls than most of men I know. And, you know, honestly, I saw a lot of men in a war, in a combat, and usually the people, ordinary people are the one who, you know, deliver the most daring, actions and results. And people like yourself, so like, you know, when I'm listening some podcasts across the globe, congratulations, you're CEO of the big company, but I'm not interested because, you know, CEO doesn't even know what's happening on the door downstairs on a mid-level management. He's in his own world where he's, you know, obviously captain of the ship, and that's it. That's what you can talk about. But this is the role. This is the role. When you told your clients, I feel like shit. No, I don't feel well.
Yeah. Yeah.
How important it is to be honest with the clients in the business?
Yeah, look,
On all levels, not just a personal level, I mean the debts, but
Correct.
how important it is to be honest with your clients, delivering results or product or services.
I think that's all you have, Mario. If people can't trust you at your word, what have you got left? Right? I think that's the most valuable asset we have in this world is our word, our integrity. So, you know, going back a little bit, when I shared about, hey, this is what I'm going through. I've had 5 deaths in my family. I'm still here because I love what I do. And I'm in this meeting and I'm present with you, but this is what I'm dealing with. It opens up a space for them to share. I can't remember, Mario, how many conversations I've had with people about their grief, because it is a common theme, isn't it, in our lives? We all go through grief and death. And people open up to me, CEOs opened up to me, oh, wow, you're going through this. You know, I went through this, or my father passed away. This is what it was like. It was such a beautiful connection that I had with people. And in fact, you asked, you know, how important it is to be honest with your clients. I remember one meeting,
Yeah,
I was going to
yeah.
pitch, like,
Okay.
this was a potential client. I was a bit nervous.
Yes.
I was just coming back from, like, you know, maternity leave. And I was pitching to them for my services. And we started talking. And I just talked and shared my life just like this. And he shared. And by the end, he said to me, I want to work with you. Let's do it. I said to him, I haven't gone through my presentation. Do you want to see my proposal? He said, no. I said, do you want to see my price? He said, no, we'll make it work.
Would you agree, I heard again that somewhere, I can't quote exactly, or who said that, but the people buy from the people.
100%.
Because I remember when I started my business, I was believing by sending thousands of emails, someone's going to come back to me. None. Nobody could care less. And even today, like, you know, when I see my LinkedIn, which is disastrous, LinkedIn becomes the mixture between the Tinder and OnlyFans. I'm serious, like Facebook thing. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
It's like now people showing them what the kids eating for breakfast, you know what I mean? And, look at me, I lost 15 kilos, look at my new boobies and all these things. And I feel myself like, isn't the LinkedIn, look, I can't, I can't understand. But even today on LinkedIn, I'm getting the messages from people who don't even know me, but they offer me solutions for the problems I don't even have. And I think myself like, you're never going to get my business. And now I understand why nobody wanted to deal with me. People buy from people.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone and talk. Now, communication. Tell me, in your world as a business owner, we talk about how honesty it's important between the clients and the trust. Now talk to me about communications. How do you communicate with your clients? Just via email, or you pick up the phone, or you send an SMS?
Yeah, so we always have, when they're already a client, we always have weekly meetings.
Oh, okay.
Because we always have to check in and see what's the progress, what are they needing this week, what am I delivering. So always weekly meetings, there's a set meetings, and usually phone. Like there's always email when you want to attach something or just,
So would you recommend to business owners who are starting business or running business right now to have those weekly meetings and
I think so.
Pick up the phone and say, hi, Nimarta.
I'm always on a phone call basis with my clients. They can always call my mobile phone anytime, and they know that. And I think it's a courtesy you can have with someone and a mutual respect that, you're trusting me to look after your business. You can call me. Of course you can call me.
Do you know that no one on social media, when you open social media of these gurus and coaches, nobody says pick up the phone. Everybody says like, put the content out, do this. I'm just like, it doesn't work that way, because I know in my business, I need to make a phone call and I need to seek the meeting, because sending proposal means nothing. Everybody sends proposals, so I need to go there and I know I need to talk to people. So I saw the day, you're gonna laugh now maybe, but I was in the gym on Sunday morning, and in a locker room was 6-7 of us guys, and suddenly comes on TV some news how in England they're running the courses for the generation Z, Y, whatever they are, because I'm the X, and they say like how to use the phone, and I'm like, but you know what?
It's true though.
My son is 23 years old. I don't remember last time he called me.
Yep.
My God, what's happening in the business?
It is true. The younger generation, they are almost allergic to phone calls. My sister's 10 years younger than me, right? So she's in that whatever the next generation after Gen Z or after millennial. I'm millennial. Yeah. I remember saying to her, why are you messaging this person? Just call them.
Sorry, I'm millennial as well. I'm 72, like no X, X is 60 something.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So I said to her, why don't you just call this person? Isn't it easier to talk on the phone? And she looked at me like I was an alien, like, what?
Yeah, well.
Why would I call somebody? That's so weird. I'm like, oh, okay, well.
So why we are then looking at social media? What is so appealing for the young generations or for the new, I would say like those ones who's going to endeavor or that try to launch the business? Why they go first online and looking all these flashy, glossy, promotional videos? It's easy to be successful. Why did we go straight away on social media?
Yeah. I think that a lot of us grown up seeing, our parents, at least our parents and our grandparents, their value and they instill in us the value of hard work, right? They talk about, like my grandparents are migrants, so they talked about how they built from nothing and blah, blah, blah. I think that we grew up in a generation with a certain level of comfort because it was already built by the previous generations. And I'm really generalizing here, right? So it won't apply to everybody, but what I see anyway within the people I talk to, they've already grown up with certain level of comfort. They don't want to struggle again. They don't want to struggle. So they now try to find a way, like, oh, my parents really struggled. My parents really talked about hard work. Let's not do what they did. There's another way, There's something, and online now, you can see everyone's making money or people are talking about, oh, I did this and now I created an app and became rich. So everyone's trying to find this magic solution.
I'll call the bullshit most of these things because I don't believe people make as much money. Because one thing I always say to when I do some presentations to my clients and they say to me, Mari, we have the problem with the information leak and everything else. And I always say, like, successful people don't put a number in front of their name. Oh, I'm making $5 million this month. That's a target. You're putting target on yourself because there's a lot of perpetrators there, the criminals, the organized crime people who are going to say, like, oh, so you have every month $5 million. Let me kidnap your kid, you know what I mean, for that money.
True.
So, like, I always say to my son, be careful what you put out, you know what I mean? Don't show where you live, you know, what car you drive, address, those things, because it's nobody's business, and money you make, it's your money, it's nobody else's money. Nobody doesn't need to know. But it seems to me that those numbers are very attractive. And when you open social media, I saw, no, LinkedIn, everybody's perfect. Everybody has everyday post about success. And I said to myself, man, am I only one who needs to work in the morning?
I feel the same way. I wrote a recent post on LinkedIn and I started with, hello, LinkedIn, is anybody there? Or have the robots taken over? Like, what is all of this polished content? And everyone's talking about the highs. I call it the valleys of business, right? Everyone talks about the peaks and how to get to the peaks. But the valleys are as important.
Okay, talk to us more about this.
Yeah, so no one talks about, you know, how many valleys have you gone through, Mario, in your life and in business? Like, it goes like this, right?
Like ACG.
Everyone's trying to get here and everyone's talking about this part. What about the bottom part? What about the valleys? It's shit, but it's important.
Yeah, nobody...
It builds character. It builds something, right? It makes you reflect. It forces you to pivot. It forces you to, like, man, I got to now break out of this way. It forced you to come and start a podcast. Yeah. But no one talks about the valley and everyone's pretending they're all making millions. And yeah, I find LinkedIn sometimes to be a really robotic and isolating place.
I truly believe that people putting so much emphasis on what's it calling, on posting those posts on LinkedIn because they think they're going to be forgotten on everything else. Look, I deal with the clients daily and they don't check in my LinkedIn every day, but even when they check the LinkedIn, they check a conversation like with the people like yourself. And I say, like, I created this platform for one simple reason, because there are the voices in business community like yourself who are very powerful, very strong, and they have a lot of degrees of knowledge and a life experience which can be utilized on daily basis for so many that I don't need to go in America and look for some speakers and all these things. There is here Nimarta here today. 5 deaths in such a short period of time. You lost a job and then you start a job for the $200 building websites. Most of people will say they, making millions. That means that your humility, it's a hallmark of you. And I mean, being humble. So talk to us from $200 first businesses. How did you progress and why you didn't stop believing in yourself? Why didn't you say, like, I want to going back in corporate job,
Yeah, I know.
Why didn't you throw your husband at the train and get the insurance? It's not like this. Like, tell us.
First, I'll tell you.
I know you're going to watch this.
First, I'll tell you a fun fact.
Yes,
we talked about humility. My name, Nimarta, pronounced in the Punjabi way, Nimarta, actually means humble.
Do you know who has that name as well?
Oh, no.
There's a movie
called
The Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch it?
No, I don't think so.
I watched it.
Oh,
and
really?
I realized this yesterday. And I was watching, and her name is Maya. But you need to watch it. It's on Disney and it's called Creator on Netflix as well. And they call her Nimarta.
Really?
So I asked the Holy Grail of the knowledge, Dr. Google, what does that mean? It's like, so see it. It's called The Creator.
Oh, there
it's
you
a
go.
new movie.
Interesting. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Anyway, please continue.
So you said, how did I progress my journey?
So like, why didn't you stop? Why didn't you say, in all honesty? So everybody who's listening right now, look, I love to throw the spanners in the conversation because it's always question, answer. So why didn't you stop? Why didn't you say, like, okay, there's opportunity now, COVID's ending, I'm going back to corporate environment? Why didn't you?
To be honest, I think the only reason people keep going forward is when they look at the alternative and that was the case for me, when I looked at the alternative of going back to corporate,
Okay.
it just killed my soul to think about. I couldn't imagine going somewhere, sitting there from 9 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. and grinding away and not having that flexibility, not having that choice of when I want to work, what I want to do with my time. That thought alone was enough for me to keep grinding away. And it's funny because, we joke as business owners, we said we escape the 9 to 5 so that we can work till 2 a.m., which is the case, right? Sometimes. I think it's really important to me to have that freedom of how I want to spend my day, especially now as a mother. I work from home. I get to see my daughter. I'm lucky enough to have a really supportive village, so she gets to be home, and
Yes.
one of the grandparents are there looking after her. Like, I couldn't trade this for anything. And so in Thai, there's a saying, you run from a tiger and you face a crocodile. It's kind of like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, that kind of saying.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. See, I'm advising you guys, you take that advice from Nimarta for one simple reason. And you can challenge me on this one. When somebody comes to me who works 9 to 5 for the salary and try to share their insights and tell me what is best for my business, I say, like, please stay away. Because when you work in corporate world, you work for salary and you're bound to work for somebody else. So you have no clue what's happening in my world, because one thing I know in Nimarta, that nobody gives you money, you need to work for the money. You're not paid to sit at home. So you need to fight. Do you be with your daughter to pay the bills? You need to search for the clients. When you're in corporate world, clients are being secured by the corporation, right?
Correct.
That's a difference. And for that one, it is very challenging, for everybody to understand how difficult it is to start a business and run the business. And as you say, how many valleys we hit, actually.
Yeah.
So what would be your recommendation, suggestion, or advice for anybody who runs the business and hits the valley? What will Nimarta say to them? How did you come out of the valley?
I think just keep one foot in front of the other,
Don't stop.
Sometimes you don't see the big picture, but you never know when it's going to turn. You never know when's the moment. When is the moment that it's going to turn? And it does turn, I believe anyway. As long as you keep that will and keep taking the action, something will flip. The universe will see what you're doing, and something will happen. It will reward you. But I think a lot of people quit. That's why there's such a big failure rate for startups in Australia. A lot of people quit before it turns. So every valley I've gone through, I go, okay, keep one thing after the other, one day at a time. How many people have I reached out to? Similar to you, How many people have I booked meetings with? How many more meetings do I need to have? What's happening? Like, keep taking the action, and something will turn, something will happen. But you have to keep that up. If that's the path for you. If that's not the path for you, there's no judgment. If you think, between the crocodile and the tiger, I better go back to the tiger.
That's a good one, crocodile tiger. That is actually a very good one. So I think that we are forgetting that our road, there's a good philosopher of 20th century, his name is Alan Watts. And he spoke about death. And he says, like, first about life. The life is so perfect for everybody. He compared with the emblems, on the uniforms, or sometimes he said, like, on front everything's nice and neat and colors, but he says at the back it's all the messy, the neat, But with the death, he said, compare that as well. He said, like, people are afraid of the death, but death is inevitable for all of us, right? And we need to create a legacy. And today you create a legacy, Nimarta. And now say, Central Coast is not close by. You drove on that heat. Hope it's going to be rain again. I don't know what they say it's going to be rain. That separates you from the losers because you wanted to share your knowledge, experience with others. And for that one, I'll say thank you for coming today. But before we wind up, I just want to ask you, because I rebranded your brand. I called Nimarta brand company's called Disruptor Brand. I called the brand Disruption. So I apologize for that one. I know just but why you calling your company Disruptor Brand?
Yeah. So
I'm very curious because that is a not normal name, being disruptor.
Yeah. So when I first started my business, it was just me, my name. I just said Nimarta Verma, brand strategy, right? But then one thing I did, as part of growing or trying to grow your business, you talk to a lot of people. That's one advice I have for anyone who wants to grow their business.
Yeah,
just you have to put yourself out there and talk to people. Have meetings, have coffees with people. Those are the build relationships. Especially in this world of AI, you cannot automate relationships. You have to build it, you have to cultivate it. So
pick up the phone and see.
That's what I did. I talked to everybody. I was having so many coffees and lunches and
Yeah. Is that in the times you were here, this area?
Yeah, correct. I was in networking groups, I was putting myself out there. But what I found, the people I met who really clicked with me, who then became clients and we worked well together, they were creating something, whether a product or a service, that was disrupting the status quo. They had something that was different.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Something that was different. A product that was like, there was nothing like this in the market. This was going to elevate this whole category, a new way of doing something. And I thought, that's really cool. I want to work with people like that. I'm just going to make my whole brand about disruptors.
Yes.
And they'll come to me, and they do. And right now I do that. I help them tell stories about their business. I specialize in storytelling because, you are a believer of storytelling, Mario. That's why you have this podcast.
Yes.
I'm a believer of storytelling. It really pains me when I talk to business owners and I hear how incredible their product or their business is, how life-changing it is, and it doesn't take off. And it's not because something's wrong with the product, but it's the story that doesn't get told. And I know I have that skill set of helping people tell their story, helping businesses tell their story. So I do that. And I work with disruptors because I know I'm not going to go and end world hunger, Mario. I'm not going to go and, transform the education system or solve climate change. Like, I'm not doing that. But I can help the people who are doing that. I can help tell their story. That's my mission. That's what I've made my mission about. I will amplify your voice. You're doing an amazing thing. It's similar to what you do, Mario. You're here. You're amplifying people's stories. You're amplifying their voices. So that's why Disruptor Brand.
I was making note because I'm still stuck with our opening statement from this podcast when you told me, well, not just to me, but entire audience of the Life the Battlefield, that you lost a job in corporate world and you dared to do something different, right? But you felt that maybe it's a word too harsh, betrayed by corporate world, but corporate world didn't care for you, right? And now you're creating the legacy together with me. And I said this for one simple reason, because in 2009, 2010, and I do remember it was a Valentine's Day, 2009. And I come to work, it was a Monday, and they waited for me with an envelope on the door. I said, well, what is this? I said, you don't need to go inside. It's company, it's a structure, GFC. I said, what GFC? Like, envelope, goodbye.
Wow.
Like, I never existed. And I was holding so tight, they're going to call me back and everything else. Nobody cared for me. And nobody called me anymore. Nobody was... I think the corporate world, it's good in creating a lot of false premises and promises. We're going to look after you. You need some counseling. Nobody cares. And I'm grateful for them. But then you say something else. You shared your lessons of humility. And I think that humility is what the most of us is missing in life. And you didn't give up. And you today doing storytelling, which again is going to reflected me in 2009-10. I go on a YouTube and I just Google how to be happy. And comes guy, Jim Rohn, he's passed away a long time ago. But there was his video like at 20 years old, like something like this. It's like, my God, I'm watching the video at 20 years old to be happy. So I'm hoping, no, I'll take this back. I believe that this interview with you will be something that's going to change many people's lives on better. Because in hindsight, you are a humble person who shares the very powerful, painful life story, which many people are going to face, but yet you prevailed and you're still fighting today. So, go back to the Disruptor Brand. What is your Disruptive Brand? How helps the people, companies? Because it's such a good name, disruption. It's like, it's so good, it's so, unusual, because people have to call themselves, I'm disruptor on this, or I'm the leadership on this, spam of your blast. What your company does, else?
Yeah, so I coach people on how to become a storyteller, how to tell their story. Because, look, Mario, it's a world of AI now. ChatGPT, everyone's so happy. I could just let ChatGPT write my content. Great, you could do that. It's not going to tell you a story because it doesn't have your memories and lived experience and meanings, right? Yes. So it can't tell you a story. But sure, it can churn out content. But then when you have to go and face somebody, you come on a podcast interview or you're on stage, how are you going to, ChatGPT can't help you there. So people need to, well, I think anyway, storytelling is going to become a really critical skill because people are going to get so sick of this robotic content, robotic, heartless content. People are going to crave for human connections. So everyone should learn how to become a storyteller. So I help coach individuals and businesses on how to become storytellers. And I think, go back to the point you made about influencers. Why are people so attracted to influencers? That's storytelling in action. They're showing us glimpses of their life. They're telling a story. They're weaving it together. We love it. We eat it up. We love stories. So if you learn anything from them, rather than learn the shortcuts or glamours, learn about how they're using storytelling to be successful.
I'm glad you shared this with the influences, the pictures and the glimpses of the reality, which brings me to something. As you were talking, it brought me in my memory. You know what I mean? I remember some stuff still. In academy, I remember one of the psychiatrists. She was there doing some type of the subject. She brought from home the album with the photos, which we don't have anymore. I don't think people don't have albums anymore.
No, I don't think.
And she says, you see this picture here, I was happy in a wedding. This is my kid, I was happy here. They're all together, like together, family smiles, you know what I mean? She said, but the life is between, which we don't see it. That's your job to find out, like become spies, right? And now you're saying this, how is important for us to do storytelling? And I want to share something with you. I was recently in Nusa, and in front of the shop is like literally thousands of postcards. So I walk inside, I said to the lady, are you really selling postcards? She says, yes. She said, people are start writing postcards again. I'm like, when was the last time you got a postcard?
I can't even remember.
I wanted people to learn from you. I really want to learn from you. How people can find you, Nimarta, how they can reach you, how they can contact you.
So they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the person who's trying to make LinkedIn less robotic and lifeless. So I share through storytelling. So I share by example of using storytelling to communicate. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Nimarta Verma. I'm on Instagram as well, Nimarta Verma Official. You can find me there.
We're gonna put I'm gonna put in description section all Nimarta contact details, guys. Don't be shy. Please, just contact Nimarta. Storytelling, it's a key for your success. Because after all, as Nimarta says, influencer shows you just a glimpse. And Nimarta is going to teach you how you can communicate with your clients or potential clients and how you can explain to them better what do you want, what are you offering. And after all, Nimarta, she traveled today from Central Coast just for you guys to share this story. Nimarta, thank you for being my guest today on Life the Battlefield.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's
You're
great
welcome.
to be here.